On the first day of my backpacking trip, I didn't reach Lake Gâlcescu, so after an improvised camping, the next day started by covering the remaining distance. In the next 24 hours, I walked in pieces in perhaps the windiest mountain range of the Carpathians, two different routes between the lake and peak Parângul Mare, having 2,519 meters. This is the peak with the highest topographic prominence in Romania, that is, it stands out the most from its surroundings. I pitched my tent and made a plan for the rest of the day. I will climb on the chimney of the lakes on the other side of the lake, then I will hike on the main ridge. If I have time, I'll descend in the direction where I came from, but on a different trail to Peak Coasta lui Rus, because there are some viewpoints there. If not, the trail will bring me back right next to the tent. And yes, I'm a strange person who puts a lock on his tent. Of course, I'm aware that if someone wants to get inside, they will, but at least there's no temptation for some. I started to climb on the chimney of the lakes. It should take about an hour to get to the ridge. This portion reminds me strongly of Tatra Mountains. There are some good camping spots here as well, and it's probably less crowded as Gâlcescu Lake. I guess that one will be the chimney itself. "45 minutes and I thought that I'm already at the end, but it looks like I'm only halfway up, according to the GPS. The second part is mild so far. Let's see if there are any surprises waiting for me. Here's the first spot where I got signal since I left, so I sent some messages that I'm alive. I'm getting close to the main ridge, so I put on my wind jacket because of course the wind started to blow. Let's see if I can make sense of these signs. It's allowed to look around, it's not allowed to kill animals, to make fires, to throw away garbage, neither to the front or to the back. It's not allowed to destroy the trees, to go off trail, to pick flowers, and to listen to loud music. Okay, we can see Rânca, the amazing resort along Transalpina, and lots of people are descending to the lake because it's reachable from Transalpina in 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, and it's Friday. We go around Peak Tatra Mare, that is the peak of the big thirst, then we climb the small one. We can see quite clearly Peak Parângul Mare. Here's the small thirst. And there's the big one. Cheers! Somewhere there I will have to descend. I guess that's Zanoaga Lake. I left from the lake 2 hours and 45 minutes ago, and I arrived to Piatra Tăiată Saddle, from where I can descend back to the lake again. As you can see, the sign doesn't say how long it will take, so I won't climb Peak Coasta lui Rus as I planned. Perhaps I will have time tomorrow. And the main ridge goes into that direction. Looks like I have a long way to go. I'll probably arrive in darkness, but at least the tent is already pitched. Still, looks easier than on the chimney. I left the saddle half an hour ago and I'm around Zanoaga Lake. At Gâlcescu the sign said 2 hours to get here, so the perspectives are not very promising. Especially because there are no markings, just a clear trail which I was able to follow so far, but in the dark it will be more difficult. Up until now there were at least some cairns, but from now on it looks like everybody is on their own. The first marking I see since I started descending. I can see the lake, there's still half an hour in daylight. I feel another juniper labyrinth coming soon, so it will be interesting. But first, some fun. Here's a small pond, the lake should be closed now. Incredible! I got here in 50 minutes from the saddle. I still have to get water somehow. Luckily, I didn't have to go far. I found out there's a spring right next to the lake, so problem solved. Dinner is next. Good night. I will show you the changes I made to my gear compared to last year's backpacking trip in Parâng Mountains. As you can see quite evidently, I mounted 2 pockets on the front of the backpack to store the stuff I want to access easily. I have here a buff, hand sanitizer, an ultrasound device, an electroshock, and gloves. Yeah, see, it's probably overkill, but this year I've seen stories from several people about all kinds of problems with shepherd dogs. Of course, ideally I would speak the language of the dogs and they would leave me alone, but I admit that I'm not very good at that, so that's the solution I chose. Because this year there are a lot of ticks, I have here a spray against them, and because in the last 2 years I repaired 3 different mattresses at least 4 times, I bought a thermoresist imitation from Decathlon, which I put under the mattress. This way, even if the mat starts to leak and I cannot repair it, I still have something for isolation and some comfort. The last difference is that I packed the tent pole separately and I put the rest of the tent inside the dry bag. I saw this idea multiple times on YouTube and so far I also like it better this way. This way there are somewhat more markings and it looks like my wish will come true and I'll meet the flock. I told you it's windy. The shepherd told me that the dogs are against wild animals, not against people. Hopefully the dogs know this as well. Indeed, I didn't have any problems with the shepherd dogs, we walked past each other, they even avoided me. My estimation was correct, I got here in an hour and a half with a heavy backpack. With the light one, I needed 50 minutes yesterday, the other way. I will continue on the main ridge in that direction, then I have to descend to one of the lakes to find a campsite. According to the sign, there are 2 more hours to Parângul Mare, let's see how much time I will need. Here soon, a cool ascent is waiting. The next peaks will be Leșul and Păclișa. From here will the ascent start, and of course the wind started to blow heavily. I have to rest a little, because I didn't have a proper rest for 2 hours. Even if it's sunny and warm, I have to put on the wind jacket, because the typical Parâng wind has begun. You should always pack gloves when coming to Parâng Mountains. After an hour of climbing, I have arrived under Peak Leșul. There's Parângul Mare, and I will sleep somewhere down there, next to one of the lakes. can see a tent in the distance. I left 3 hours 40 minutes ago, I descended from Peak Păclișa, and here comes a pretty climb to Peak Gruiu. For the third time on the fourth highest peak of the country, or the fifth according to some sources, and this is the first time I'm alone here. We have to overtake significant altitude differences on the way we reach. On the chimney of the lakes we wear down quite a lot, and because of the deviation, this version needs 1 hour and a half more, having a physical difficulty of 7, while the shorter version of 6 vampire teeth. Technically, in both cases, the biggest challenges are the steep ascents before getting to the ridge, the technical difficulty through the chimney of the lakes being 4, while on the other variant 3 vampire teeth. In nice weather we can see to long distances in every direction from the ridge, but don't forget to admire the numerous lakes in the steep valleys as well. The satisfaction factor in both cases is 7 vampire teeth.